Hello, my name is Tobias and I'm from the Swedish metal band Wormwood, and you are watching Extreminal TV. Here we go.
Wormwood has been around for a long time and you are well known in underground metal music scene. On the other hand, I'm sure that many guys haven't got a chance to know you before. Could you introduce the band for metal music fans who haven't heard about you guys yet?
So we started out uh, as an official band with the name Wormwood in like 2014. We had some kind of project before 2014 that became Wormwood. So there was a few lineup changes, and then since then we released one EP, and we're about to release the third full-length album. Our music, you can have everything from classic rock to furious blasting black metal stuff. So we contain a lot of different stylistic expressions, I would say. Therefore, I don't label Wormwood as something else than just a metal band, because I would say it's unfair to be precise. Some people will call us melodic black metal and whatnot. That's true, but it's not the full story.
The theme of your last album is the end of the world. What do you think of the negative impact of humanity on the earth? How did you reflect this matter on the album?
Uh, yes, it's a doomsday saga. You can put it like that. Uh, most of the songs, since it is a concept album, so most of the songs are somehow connected to each other. It's set in the same universe. Uh, and we are pretty inspired by facts and reality on this one. Um, you know, if you just open your newspaper today, you will see a lot of shit going on. Uh, Everybody knows about this pandemic stuff, and now it's the heat waves, and humanity is responsible for suffering of this planet. So we were slowly digging our own grave, and I think that's the main thing we pick out on this album. But we don't want it to be, this epic apocalyptic Mad Max story. We want it to be, uh, it's about real humans. There's no heroes in this apocalypse. It's just ordinary, regular, hardworking people, and things are getting bad.
In regarding of some fresh reviews of Wormwood's last album, the band is compared to bands such as Sci-Fink, Winder, Falkenbach, and Nagelfar, whereas it sounds more of Moonsarov to me if I have to compare. From which bands and musical styles are you actually inspired?
My main source as a songwriter uh, of inspiration, it's not music. uh, I think it's kind of pointless to hear something and then like, oh, let's do this, because it's already existing. With that said, of course our music uh, will be comparable to other artists and bands, but it's not something that we did on purpose. It's just it comes naturally. So my answer on what's our source of inspiration, I would say it's nature, and it's life and abstract thoughts that you will get. It is other art forms. It's of course emotions and nostalgia, and I can keep going on. Uh, it's hard to pick one, but to be honest, I don't listen to so much music anymore as I did, when I was a teenager. I prefer to make my own stuff, write and play my own music. Uh, yeah, so that's my answer. And of course, I can't deny that maybe I hear something and then like 2 years after that, it's somewhere stuck in the back of my head and it comes out. So of course I would say I'm like everybody else. You can get inspired and copy something without knowing it. um,
Yeah.
yeah, something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
see. Due to the accident in Suez Canal, the release
Yeah.
of the vinyl version delayed. I wouldn't have thought that such thing could affect a metal band in Sweden. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, who did know? When it was all over the news, for us it was just another story from the news. But then the weeks after a few weeks, our label, they called us and said, well, sorry guys, the pressing plant just called or whatever, and they told us that they didn't have the material, the actual material to press vinyls. And that's because they were out of material, and they ship it from China or whatever, wherever, and it got stuck there. Or I don't know if it was that specific boat, but it was blocked and it delayed a lot of stuff, apparently. uh, and when things get delayed, you know to one place, the other place will have delays also. And finally, it was our turn to get a piece of that shit sandwich. uh, so the label decided to reschedule the release for another month, because they and we didn't want to release it digitally and on CD. First we want to release everything in one
Yeah,
full package. So that's basically the story. And here we are. But yeah, it's coming soon.
yeah, that's the good news behind it.
Yeah.
So the cover of Arkivet's album is very minimalistic, very plain. And what was the reason to choose that kind of an art?
uh, it, it it goes along with the name of the album. My cat is screaming. It goes along with the the name. At first, the album name was Vita Arkivet, which means in Swedish the White Archive. And the Vita Arkivet, or the White Archive, is it's how to say it. It's like a testament that you write your final wishes and um, your thoughts that you want to leave for your friends and family when you die. Um, so our take on that, the Vita Arkivet, the White Archives, the humanity's final wishes, and that we want to be remembered. And when I say we, it's like everybody. Uh, for the few who will survive, or for future civilizations or whatever. So that's the story about that. But the fun fact here is that there is a Swedish burial service, like a funeral home, and they got the service called Vita Arkivet. And somehow they found out that we had an album with the same name uh, coming, and we got this mail from their lawyers, and they were pissed off because they didn't want people to mix up a funeral home service with a metal band album. So they demanded us to, change name and everything. Uh, the a lot of artwork and posters and flyers were already printed, uh, and also digital banners and stuff. So we had to come up with a new name and change a lot of stuff in just a few days to be able to whatever shit has to be done in a certain amount of time. So that's the background story, but the artwork, it's very plain and simple, and we wanted it to be very bureaucratic and boring, and uh, no fancy cool dragons with laser beams shooting from the eyes and stuff like that. We wanted it to be as simple as possible, to be also like relatable for the topic. If you understand what I mean, it's hard to express this in English actually for me, but we wanted it to be. It's a part of the art in this case. Yeah, it should be boring and institutional and stuff like that in this case. That's why it's very minimalistic. Yeah, but I think this is my personal opinion, but all the cliche black metal art or whatever, metal in general art, it's not scary anymore, because it's done for so many years. And one of my mottos when it comes to everything that has with art to do, doesn't matter if it's video or paintings or music, to produce something that is really dark, dark and scary, you have to add a lot of light into it, because it's the contrasts that will enhance the darker side. If it's just darkness from start to end, uh, it starts to become like a parody of itself, in my personal opinion. Uh, I know that a lot of true metal heads out there will disagree, but that's my it's my perspective and how I think art should be. It's about the contrasts.
In many reviews, guitar works of the album was pointed out. Also, the rich content of the riff structure and solos were often mentioned. Guitar works this time in the album Arkivet seems to have gone beyond the first two albums. How do you evaluate the situation?
First of all, that's I'm happy to hear that somebody thinks it's good. Uh, Even though I'm the lead guitarist and I write most of the stuff, it's really hard to point out stuff and be objective to the own work. But in general, I think you always want to evolve and try maybe new paths and skip stuff you did back in the days that didn't work out, and keep doing what was good. Uh, but as a guitarist, I am more I'm a, I'm more of a songwriter, I would say, than a guitarist. Of course, I can play guitar pretty well, but I'm not this shredding beast. Uh, I'm not Yngwie Malmsteen kind of guy. I'm actually kind of bluesy in my style, and it's all about use the guitar as a megaphone for expressing feelings more than it's like an instrument of sports. For me, uh, I think it's cool with people that are very technical, skilled, to watch them, and but that's not my take on it. And now I think that I forgot the question.
The question was, how do you evaluate this situation that it sounds maybe a little bit different than the other two albums?
Uh, I would say
Or maybe you are not aware of it. I don't know.
no, not really, but I would say something like this. When it comes to the technicality of the actual playing, the s- uh, it evolves by nature, uh, and if we talk like technical stuff, like what gear we used other gear for this album than the last two albums. Same guitar though. Uh, so yes, it may sound a little different because of that two reasons.
Every day we come across with more and more concert announcements around Europe. Are you planning to play any shows in the near future?
Of course, now I have like two 2 years almost without any gigs, and a lot of the gigs are postponed. Not everybody are official yet, because I think the promoters and everybody who works in the business wanted to wait, until basically now, where they can promise it to happen. Uh, we have two dates that aren't canceled and postponed for this year, and it's in December, and it's two gigs here in Sweden. But all the gigs out in Europe, they will happen next year. Uh, a few of them are like already booked, and we will do them, but most of them I still need to get confirmed that it will happen. I fear though that a lot of the promoters and uh, events are bankrupt. uh, a lot of them had to stop doing that shit and go work at McDonald's or whatever they do now. But that's sad. But I hope they will rise from the dead again, and so you
Yeah.
know, it's this same shitty situation for every band, and now we just have to get on stage again, and the business surrounding this kind of music and all art forms
Yeah.
could grow again. So uh, yeah, but we will definitely do so many gigs we can, and it's just a matter of people want to have us, you know. Of course, a future tour with this album would be great. We last album we didn't have a full tour until the pandemic came, so I think we will have to do some kind of mixed two album tour style of yeah, we'll see.
In your last two albums, Swedish language was partly used in your lyrics. Would you like to use your native language in your next albums as well? And what do you think about the use of lyrics in local languages in metal music?
Uh, yeah, I could for sure say that we will start, that we will keep use Swedish songs also. Um, you know, it depends on what you want to sing about. Some themes, you know, is not we're not able to express the same stuff, you know, in English, because it will sound bad, and it wouldn't feel, you know, honest, because some stuff are so local, and to have a world language put in this context, it wouldn't just not make sense, and vice versa. You know, some stuff you can't sing in Swedish because it will sound like a children's song, or or some stuff, you know, some content are not, there isn't words in Swedish to express some stuff, you know, and the other way around, you know, when we sing about details in Swedish nature, you know, you can't say it in English because it wouldn't make sense at all, because maybe even if there is a word for it, it doesn't have the same uh, it's not loaded with the same, you know, feelings or
Mm.
whatever. This is hard to explain, but I hope somebody gets it.
Mm.
uh, and other bands that do the same thing, you know, when they sing in their native smaller language, I think it's cool, because it's I guess that every band that does that feels the same as me, that it's, you know, it's very honest and very naked to express whatever you want to say in your own language, you know. uh, just like now when I'm talking English, there's like a wall. It's like I have sunglasses on me, because it's, of course, it's me, but it's a made up version of me. And same thing with music. uh, so that's my answer.
Next question is about your video for the song "The Archive." It is, I found it very impressive. People who watch it can easily feel the spirit of a short movie, depend on a well-written script. How did you come up with the idea of making a video based on the novel of Mikael Strömberg?
Mikael Strömberg, he's an Swedish horror author. uh, he's been active for years, released quite a lot uh, content. uh, we're from the same small town here in Sweden, and we know each other a little bit now. So we contacted him and told him about our idea for this album, and he thought it was cool. Who doesn't think the apocalypse is cool? So yeah, we asked him to be a part of this project, and wanted him to write something that we can release with the album. And he liked the idea and thought it was cool, so I wrote him like the foundation of it, the main ideas, and what we wanted and what we didn't want, and then just told him to do whatever you want with this. And he wrote something, and we had a few discussions about it. And then we also had him with us in the video meetings. My friend and I did a video, Svartna Film. It's the name of the company. So we were three guys sat down and we talked about how to filmaticize parts of this book. The book is much longer than the video, of course, but we took a few selected parts, to make it short movie-ish. There's also a thing, we would never stand up with a cool background with our guitars, to play in a music video. We want it to be more cinematic, or whatever you call it. So the main idea was to make a short movie slash music video with with content from the novel. And so the song and the book and the video, they of course belong together, but you won't understand it fully without reading the book. So it leaves a lot to question when you watch the video. But if people are interested to know more, they should definitely read the book, and it will be available in both Swedish and in English.
Do you have a special, unforgettable concert that you played, and why?
Yeah, of course. To play bigger stages with a lot of crowded, a lot of people watching, that's of course very cool, and very, you'll get this adrenaline rush from it. And that may be, the best kind of rush you can ever get. But the most memorable would be, especially in the beginning, we had in the beginning of our band career, we did some tours, in really shady places. We toured a lot in Eastern Europe and Balkans and all that stuff, and there was crazy moments there, because it was so much misery for us as a band, bad food, bad sleep, dangerous venues. And once we played in Romania, and like 1 week after that, the same place was burnt to the ground, and people died there. And so a lot of
Wow.
gigs I've done, I thought about, is this place safe? uh, with electricity and all that stuff, and beer is flying. And I remember one time we played in, I think it was in Bulgaria, in a small basement somewhere. And like half an hour before we were going up on stage, our drummer, he got his earbud air protection, it went, so far away inside his head, so he had to seek medical attention. So some guy drove him to the hospital, and snap, they took it out, and then we up on stage. And the crowd there, they didn't know about us, of course, but there was like 12-year-old girls mixed up with 50-year-old drunk skinheads, and there was like a fighting party, and they smashed bottles, and it was booze and beer all over the floor, and I was like playing there. They don't give a fuck about us. They just want to have distorted guitars and fight. uh, so I had a few gigs like that, and it got better and better and better, more how to say it, serious gigs. uh, I will also always remember one gig we did. It was in the middle of the summer, and it was really, really hot. It was packed in this club, maybe 200 people was there, and it was so much smoke in there also, so it was hard to breathe, and the heat was serious. Sometimes I had to watch my back because I thought it was burning on stage, but it was the lights that was burning my back. And then in the end of the gig, my body, almost shut down. So I threw it up on stage because I got some kind of heat reaction. And then, after the gig, I drank so much water, and my body was shaking. That's also uh, something I will remember. So a lot of bad stories from the first year of Wormwood, definitely. I can keep going. Of course, you learn from your mistakes, and there are a lot of gigs and a lot of places we played that I'm never gonna do it again. uh, but I don't regret it, because you always learn so much. uh, Nobody want to hear the beautiful stories anyway, so uh, I have to say, to let you know about one more. Do we have time?
Yeah, of course.
This was also in some kind of no-name city in the Balkans, and we were playing some kind of MC club or something. Uh, and a lot of shady and goofy people showed up there, and like for 3 minutes walk from the venue, there was a big slum area. The real poor people lived there. And we had our van outside of the venue, and the the bassist we had back then, he was going to the van to get some stuff, and he locked the door with the keys inside. So we had all of our gear and stage clothing and whatnot, in this van in this shady area. And we were like, should we broke the window or something? And the tour manager and the driver was, no, you can't fuck up the car, because tomorrow we're going to this other country, and we can't cross the border if we have a broken window for some reason. And to get spare parts, no window, it was in another country, and it was not an option. So what to do when you are in a shady neighborhood and you need to get inside of a car? Well, you just ask the most criminal looking guy if he can fix it. Uh, and so we did. He said, yeah, no problem, no problem. And he took off and, came back with an even more shady looking guy a few minutes afterwards. Uh, and of course he was a car thief or something. So he just did some stuff, and yeah, here you go.
So you paid
Still,
for it.
yeah, 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 of course. But I will never forget that moment. And I don't want it to happen again, but I think, yeah, we got a lot of good stories from the first years.
Yeah, I can imagine. And as a last part, I'd like to continue with our classic fun questions. And they
Mhm.
are sometimes a bit nonsense. And
Yeah,
the first one is, what was the first merchandise product that you bought?
that I bought. Maybe it was a The Offspring shirt. Uh, Ixnay on the Hombre, or however you pronounce it. It was a green oversized T-shirt for me with the album cover on it. And I was so proud when I got back to school. I was like in uh, third or fourth grade or something, and yeah, it looked really badass. And sometimes I miss that shirt because I think I would fit in that now. But yeah, I think it must be in that,
Yeah.
merchandise wise.
And with which band or musician on earth would you love to be on a tour together?
uh, if I can be unrealistic, I would say Iron Maiden. I would love to open up for Iron Maiden, but I don't think if we ever grow that much attention to the world, so it would be possible. I think Iron Maiden has stopped playing, so because they are getting older. So, but to be more realistic, you know, I really don't. I'm not a fan so much now. I see people as equal musicians, but a random bigger name so we can grow as a band. Yeah, random bigger band.
What is the first drink you would like to get before and after a concert?
Uh, most of the times there is the local beer or whatever they have backstage, and I think that's just fine with me, except for that time when I was about to die from dehydration and heat, where I threw it up on the stage. At that time I wanted water only after the gig. But yeah, you know a, a few beers, not too many before the gig though.
Yeah.
Afterwards, if you're going home, just one gig, you can have a great party.
After
Otherwise,
party.
just a few beers. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm not so picky. I drink and eat whatever.
Would you prefer having a show in a small bar or on a large stage at an open air festival?
I think for me, it doesn't matter. It's about the energy of the crowd. Uh, Festivals are great because they attract a lot of people, and you can reach out to new fans also. And if you have a good slot on the festival, where people are in party mode, and not too drunk and not too hungover, I would prefer to play festivals. But also, smaller indoor theaters and and clubs. Uh, if it's crowded, it builds up some kind of electricity in the room, and that's a great feeling also. Um, so I would say it doesn't matter where, it's about how it turns out, the atmosphere.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for answering my questions. Would you like to add something for the viewers of Extreminal?
Well, I have to be a little classic here and say thank you for having me, and I wish you all well, and I hope to see you further down the road, maybe when the world opens up fully again, and
Mm.
nice to see you, and thank you everybody that are still here to listen to my bullshit.